Welcome back, everyone. This is week 12 of our lesson series, Build the Foundations of Reaching a Profitable Mindset, right? Because we have to achieve that before we can actually see any of the rewards on our financial basis, right? So getting straight into it, I'm going to go over, and it's a little backwards. You got to read it from right to left just so you know what I'm starting with. So starting all the way down with watching and waiting. That's where I want people to start first. Whether you are in the markets or have been in the markets for several years, a year, whatever, several months, or you're brand new to it, I would say if you're not making money, you have to start here. Even if it may feel like you're starting over, start here, right? This is where you're going to be sitting back, just watching the markets. But then more than just watching it, build the mindset that you're waiting. You're not just looking for any setup that fits your rules. You're waiting for the setup that fits every part of your rules, right? And maybe there's one thing that's missing on this setup, don't take it. Maybe there's something that you don't like on the next one, don't take it. That's the waiting part of it. Watching, staying objective, and then waiting, making sure we're waiting for the proper setup. The goal with that is to get a rule-based strategy that's very mechanical as possible, where you're not having to add any subjectivity to it, and that's where we get into specifics, because without it, you're going to be left to your own devices to make little minor changes here and there, and that's going to mess up your long-term profitability, because we no longer have a set win rate or a set R to R that we can gather over enough data, right? It's not going to be the same every day or every week or every month, but with enough data, we can predict it pretty well. And then after that, I want to move into risk management. And the reason I save this for last, as far as building the foundation, is because I don't want you to think about it as just having the same risk every time, right? That's important, right? But that's going to be included in the watching and waiting, right? Your set amount that you place a trade, like how much you risk, that should be in your rules, right? When I talk about risk management here, I'm more so saying, okay, are you going into the markets fully ready? Meaning, like, are you going into it tired? That's the most easy example. Are you going into the 9:30 open tired? If so, you're not going to be at your best. You're not going to be able to place those trades with the same level of cognitive ability, and that's just not putting things in your favor. Risk management is mitigating anything that is not in your favor. Now, this does tie into having the actual money and the funds part of it, but something that I've done, and I'm going to show you in just a second, is instead of just tracking whether it was a win, a loss, or a break even, or how much it won, specifically, how much did I spend in commissions? How much did I want to make? What was my target? How much did I lose? Like, things like that. And this is something new I started in the new year. You can see it started on January 13th. That was my first trading day of the year. And you'll notice some days are missing. Those were days I just couldn't get to my laptop, couldn't trade. And when I say specific risk management, right, this is what I'm talking about. This is the target area. You can see I have one for all my accounts. So this is the target. This is, if I back tested my strategy, this is what I would write down it would make. This is in a perfect world. How much did I lose? How much did I make? What did I, what about the break evens? Right? This is no commission, nothing. That's a perfect world. Once you've graduated into a point of, and I'll go back here, remember, we've watched and waited in the markets. We've built a specific strategy. Now we're moving into the specifics of what our trading looks like live. You incorporate something like this. So this next one is exactly how much I made on the trades. And you can see it comes out to a negative 61.5. On here, it should be break even. So on this specific account, I'm actually down, and then I can go back and say, oh, well, it's because I had a computer issue on this trade and this trade, where this one should have been break even. This one should have been a little higher. I can't do anything to change that. I just have to accept it as fact. But then that tells me, okay, well, whenever I move into taking trades, forward, I need to be more prepared. I made a mistake there, and I've done better to remedy it here. You can see I took a little heavier of a loss here. That's not crazy, $16. But then we move over here. These are my other 3 accounts. These ones make up for these losses. This is another form of risk mitigation. If you have your accounts spread out over multiple and not just sizing in on one big account, instead using 4 smaller ones, things like these little technical malfunctions will be made up by over here. Instead of being at what would be break even on the back tested results, oops, sorry, as you can see here, I am actually up 55.68 on this account over the back tested results. And then you add in this one, we're up 113, add in this one, we're up 137. So across 3 accounts, we're up 137 in what I call extra profit, right? I could come up with something fancier, but I'm going to call it extra profit, because that means my goal is just to be at break even, but instead I'm $137 over that. So this 137 makes up for this over here. And again, remember, this is all my money, right? This, like, I'm just separating them for risk management. It's all going into one bank account, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So that if I make a mistake on this account over here, I can save it hopefully over here. But if I start to make mistakes everywhere, it's going to hurt me even more. And again, this all feeds into confidence. This is not, I can't stress this enough, this is not to get you to make money, right? Hopefully you are, but it's not to get you there, right? By the end of this, if you're able to, you know, by the end of these next 2 more weeks, 2 or 3 more weeks, I haven't decided, if you're able to make a little bit of money, great, but really by the end of it, I just want everybody to say, okay, I have my strategy, I know what I'm going to risk, I track my trades every single day, I place the trades the same way every day, that's it. Right? It's only 3 weeks that we're going over this, but then we want to apply this to the next 30 to 90 days, okay? And that's where the confidence lies in. After that break-in period, that's when we hope to see some success. But moving on, this is what we're starting with. Week 1, watching and waiting. Now, watching does not mean that we're placing trades. It means that we are literally sitting there on TradingView. This is to remain as unbiased as possible. When we are looking at strategies to develop, or if you already have one, ways to make it less subjective and more objective, meaning more mechanical, we're looking for things like that. We cannot be placing trades. If we're placing trades, that's going to bring the emotions into the mix, and now we are harming ourselves when we move on to the next step, because the next step is making sure there's no subjective decisions. But if you have any emotions on writing your strategy, it's just going to make it that much harder to follow it, okay? And then waiting. Get those rules set and practice. Just practice. Okay, hey, I'm going to risk, you know, what I did personally was I went to crypto and I risked $1 a trade or less if I could, right? Just, it was the same amount, whatever I was risking, so that I, you know, could get practice in for the risk management part of it, but it was very, very low, so that I knew, hey, even if I get lucky and win this trade, it doesn't matter. All that matters is I follow my rules. So if I don't follow my rules and I get a great trade, that's going to be like $4. So it's not worth it, right? So I might as well spend this time risking low, follow my strat, and see, does it work? That's what we incorporate: the watch first and then start to apply, wait for those setups. If you can't, consistently wait for your setups with the amount that you're risking, you need to lower it. We cannot enter this thing risking far more than we are mentally capable of, okay? This is why most traders fail. They get anxious before they get into a trade, or after, or while they're in the trade, and that's where the money's lost. It's not because your strategy doesn't work. It's not because you're not there psychologically, you're not smart enough. It's none of that. Most of the time, like 90% of the time, it's none of that. It is you get anxious when you're in the trade because you weren't prepared beforehand, and now you've decided to get out early, wait too long to get out, size in too much. Like, any of these factors come from emotion, and our goal is to mitigate those before moving on to the next step, okay? This was one of the first trading books that I went over and read. He goes very deep into the trader psychology of why it's important to be an emotionless trader and how to achieve that. He also goes into other life skills, such as managing loss, right? When you do take a loss, how do you react to it? And how can you build the habits to get better about reacting to it, to a point where you eventually don't react to it at all, right? But more than that, at the end of the book, he gives you a step-by-step guide on what he recommends going from 0 to consistently profitable. Overall, the message from this book is what has enabled me to create these lessons and build this structuring of a foundation to a profitable trader. The main focus, really the main focus for this, is to now take the things and the topics that I've gone over the last 11 weeks on these live lessons and hone them down into a finite group of step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on, to get you guys from, hopefully, maybe you're not on step 1, maybe you're on step 2 or step 3, but you just aren't sure how to get to step 4. That's the biggest problem most traders have, is they get to a point where they've moved past, oh, that doesn't make sense, so let me do this, and then this, and then this, and they get better and better, and they hit a wall. And the thing that kills day traders is you don't get to try again until tomorrow. You get today. If you miss the trade, now you want to make it back real quick, but you're not going to because it's not your setup, right? So that's where the patience comes in, waiting for the proper setup. That's why I'm starting with that, because you only get one shot a day, you know, hopefully, most likely. I mean, I won't say hopefully, but most likely you're only getting 1 to 2 or 3, you know, trades a day, but even missing one of those could affect, probably will affect your bottom line. If it's a loss and you missed it, so be it. You know, cool, you got out lucky, right? That is what it is. But if you have a winning strategy and you miss trades, odds are you're going to miss winners, and that will affect your bottom line, right? Thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you all next week, same time and deal, Thursday at 1:30. Have a great day, guys.